Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reina's podcast. What is up? It's been a minute. I have tons to update you on. And before I jump on into this episode, I want to just reintroduce myself because it's been a minute. Maybe it's your first time listening to this episode and this podcast. And first off, thank you so much for taking the time. And, this episode is really about sharing Latina entrepreneurs' journeys and specifically first generation, Latina entrepreneurs, because it's a different journey, y'all. And I just want to keep it real with you and share and any resources. I'm huge on resources and seeing how it can help you in your own journey, because I feel like we should help each other out. So, and in this specific episode, we're going to be talking about my moving journey and moving outside of the your parents' home and that whole process. And I think it's such a big deal for a young Latina to move out on her own and not because they're married or to college, but just because, right? And to be honest, I've been asked several times by different people that I've met, like, why, or they question it. And it's just so funny how they're questioning it. I mean, you think about it and you're just like, I'm sure they wouldn't be asking this to a guy, right? It's just it's something that I feel really is powerful for a woman to, and just for anybody to live on their own and to really discover who they are, what they like, what they don't like before you commit to somebody or you end up like being in a relationship. And yeah, so it's going to be talking about kind of like the journey of where I was before, and the how if you ever want to move out and leave, and how, like, just the mindset, how to get your finances in order, how to find a place, and everything. So let's get to it. So a little bit about my background. I guess the first time I did move out was in college. And I did move to UC Santa Cruz. And UC Santa Cruz is about 6 hours away from where I'm at. And it's not, I mean, yeah, so that's very different. I lived with actually two other people in one room. So there's three of us in one room. And like it was crazy. I mean, it was so fun. But it's crazy how we all like just fit in that one room. We made it work, and it was a great experience to live away. I truly believe that, like, I always tell parents, and also, like, I guess, like 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds, like, if they're in their parents, they're kind of struggling, like, in the relationship. I always say, like, trust me, move out and you're gonna appreciate like what you do, what you have, and like your parents. Because, and your parents always tell you that, they always remind you, like, trust me, you're gonna appreciate this once you don't have me. And it is true. And you just also, and also they appreciate you as well, because I do believe like parents can also kind of like take the kids for granted sometimes. And both of you just have like another, it's kind of just like a refresh, right? So yeah, so I moved out in college, and then I came back home, and I came back home, and then I actually ended up I actually so when I left college, I decided to drop out, and so that's like a whole other episode. But when I left school, I came back home, and I told my parents, like, I'm going to focus on building my business, building a brand. Um and I'm gonna get a job, but in the meantime, that's what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm not gonna really spend my money in college anymore. And so they were, in the beginning, they were like, okay, well, we'll see how it goes. Um, but overall, they weren't very excited about it. There was a lot of like they were okay with it, and then like somehow little by little there was like a lot of doubts being at home or me leaving school, because I think it came more like the tios or the tias were influencing, or their friends were influencing them or asking them questions like, why is she at home? What is she doing? But my parents knew me, and they knew that I was like focused on my journey and that I was like hustling, and they saw it. But I don't know, I guess my parents were a little influenced by other people as well. And so it kind of got to them, and then they would question me a lot. And it was a little frustrating as well, because I was just figuring it all out, right? Like, they don't have a business, and I'm just like, this isn't gonna take, it's not gonna be like it's gonna get fixed in one day to the next. It's gonna, and I made a lot of mistakes. I don't know, I learned a lot. And honestly, the first year was of leaving school was really difficult, in that I had to really ignore everyone's comments and opinions, honestly, on how I should live my life. And it's those adults that obviously they're more experienced in life, but or those people also who didn't really know who I truly was, but they were already judging me just by that alone, that I was like, that I didn't finish school. But you know, and it's also people, to be honest, that I didn't want to be like, right? Like, I didn't want their future. And a lot of those people didn't go after their dreams. They settled. And a lot of those times they end up regretting it and just kind of living, day like with the status quo of like what everyone else does. And I know since I was very young, I've learned that I'm not that type of person, and I like to do my own thing. Um, but it does come with, taking a lot of opinions about everybody. And obviously, like, I'm building things, and they don't see like the back end of stuff, but they have to, it's just patience, right? And at the end of the day, you have to just believe in yourself and ignore those people. And what helped me, honestly, was when I went to a conference, and when there was a billionaire guest speaker there, and his name's Jeff Hoffman, and he's the founder of Priceline and a whole bunch of incredible other businesses. And he mentioned, and he shared this story, how when he also left his job and started a business, and his mom was just like, oh, like, I don't think that's a good idea and everything. And it's like, you love your mom and you respect your mom, but at the end of the day, like, you look back and you're like, well, your mom has never run a business. Like, you're taking advice from people who, number one, are not doing what you do, and that you don't even want to be like. And he said, just basically like, filter those people out. Like, do you want to be like this person in this area? Yes or no? Then take, like, if it's a yes, then take their advice. If it's a no, then, you don't really have to listen. And after that, I just was like, I just kind of like would listen to it, and it would go one year and not the other, if I was like, well, we have different goals. And I didn't really tell them, but you just have to. But obviously it's very draining. It's very draining. And so I think what helped me a lot was listening to podcasts. That was so I was just like obsessing over podcasts, because I was trying to get my mindset right. I think that's like the biggest thing, in your environment and your people, right? So that was one thing. And then being an entrepreneur at home, that's like, I don't know about y'all, but being an entrepreneur, there's like, you see it all the time on social media, like a meme where it's like, you quit your 9 to 5, but to start your business and then you're working from like forever, like 24/7. And it's true. I mean, in the beginning, you're creating, you're building from scratch, especially if you're starting from scratch. And, a lot of the times people are not going to understand what you like why you're doing things, and they question it a lot. And and you can explain and take the time to explain, like, oh well, this is my goal, and then they'll realize it. But sometimes people don't understand, and you have to understand that, your dream and your gifts were given to you and not to them, and vice versa, right? So being an entrepreneur, you're working a lot, and obviously living at home, and I have a big family, it can be very distracting. And also, maybe I think this was more in the beginning when I was always like on my laptop, and then my parents would be like, "Are you even like working?" Like they don't really know exactly what you're doing. So, yeah, so that could be also something that I'm sure some of you can relate. Um and another big thing, living at home, it's the benefit though is you're saving a lot of money. And I know like Gary V, he always says this, like live small, like save your money. And it's true. In the beginning, it's definitely very important. And the great opportunity about living at home, you're saving a lot of money and you're able to invest it back into your business, because when you're growing the business, you gotta invest either in a coach or your website or the product that you're launching. So many things, right? And so it's super important to be smart with your money, and just kind of you gotta. That's like your sacrifice of living at home, and but you're investing it, and you have that a lot of the money to your business. And honestly, you're just like on the grind, right? Like you're just super focused, and at the end of the day, it really does help being at home. But also, it's once you get to a point in your like either business or mindset, and I really do believe, like, if you create your own environment and it's like a healthy, right, growing environment, it can be really, really beneficial to you, your mental state, and your business. Um, and it's a big decision to, I feel, as a single person, to leave home. And as a woman, I think, and a Latina woman, like, it's just so rare. Like, I can basically count in my hands, like in one hand, how many people have done that have like, yeah, it's very, very rare. I have 5 older sisters, and I believe one person has done that. Um, and that was, and yeah, and she mainly like lived because she was attending school far away, but probably if she was attending school closer, she probably would have stayed at home. So, and I just believe that, our parents come from, and just sometimes our family, they have like these different ideas and maybe limiting beliefs. And if that's already like influencing you and your environment, and you're over here trying to build a business and trying to grow, you need to be pushed, you need to be taking risks. And that is just not feeding into that. Like, it's just a very opposite mentality. So, as I guess what I'm saying is, like, there's pros and cons, but in the beginning, you got to toughen it out, live at home. I mean, there's obviously benefits, like you're close with your family, there's memories, there's experiences, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to, grow and fly away. And yeah, and so I want to share a little bit more also, like the struggles for me on how I wanted to move out, but there were certain things I needed to get in place before I did that. Like, for example, my credit, you know, um, that was a big thing because I saw that, depending, like a lot of places check your credit, and what is credit, like they That's a credit is basically like a good way of showing people how well you pay for your items and things like that for in your record. It's like your record of your financial record. And I think that's super, super important to start improving. And I remember for me, my credit was not the best and I had to build it. And so I started right there, and I started with and I wanted to build it faster. And so I got in contact with a credit repair company called Credit Nerds. And there's so many people out there and so many great companies out there, and I highly recommend them. But I specifically worked with Credit Nerds, and Credit Nerds, basically they help you type out letters to the credit card companies. You have to mail them out, and it does take time. It takes like 3 to 6 months, but it's a lot faster because they actually like the credit card companies end up like deleting some of the either missed payments or anything or like sometimes people make mistakes on the credit reports, and then that affects your credit, so they remove them. And slowly but sure, and like it also just brings awareness to your credit, like so you're being more mindful of not using it and paying it off. So that's super important. Another thing is getting your income record. So it's really, I mean, I was at a stage where I was trying to build a business, like, and income is like fluctuates. Some months are, more than others. And you have to have like a consistent income record. And so I was waiting a couple months for that until I can show that I was making consistent income. So that was good. And then, whether we like it or not, this was another big struggle. Another big struggle was my dog, to be honest. I love my dog. He's like my child. And his name is Leo. And another big struggle was, not a lot of people allow dogs. And he's not a little dog. He's a golden retriever. So they're pretty big. And yeah, a lot of people, so not only like the size, but also, I wanted somewhere where he could kind of be outside. Even though he's like totally an indoor dog and he's like with me all the time, but sometimes, if I leave, like I don't know, I wanted like some space for him to have outside. So that was really important to me. Um and another struggle that I was having with, and these were another struggle that I was having was my mom. My mom she was in like a very and I don't want to like get too into it because I want to respect her privacy, but she wasn't doing very well, like mentally, like her mental health was not very well. And that also like I just put a lot of thought into like leaving. Like I didn't want to, knowing like my own mother was not healthy in her mind, and I didn't want to just leave. Like I just felt bad doing that. And that was also like a big thing, and I felt bad leaving my dad cuz my he was going to have to figure it out on his own. We were kind of like in it together and helping my mom. And I had to I just yeah, and so we were like my sisters and I, we were like trying to get her better and everything, but it's not something that you could just fix overnight. Like mental health is very, very serious, and it just really took time, and thank God she got better, and she simply recovered. And it made me feel a lot better to leave. I think that was like a huge thing for me, especially as the youngest daughter. You're just expected to sometimes take care of either like the oldest or the youngest. But like obviously I'm the only one that's not married, and for my sisters or that hasn't been married. And and I was the only one at home, and so everyone just, like, put the pressure on me automatically to take care of my mom and my parents, and yeah, I was just kinda like, "This is a lot of pressure," and in my mind, I'm like, "No, like, I don't have to do this." Like, no, like, I wanna also live my life as well. So I had to set that boundary with my family and with my sisters, to be honest. Like, I'm allowed to leave and I'm allowed to move out. Like, this is not only my responsibility. So that was a big thing too. And then, I did have that slight fear of moving out, of moving out and being on my own, obviously, like, financially, um, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, like, how are you I don't know, you just have to kind of face that fear, and that was my own personal fear, even though I wanted to so bad and I wanna have that environment, but, like, there was just that little voice like, "Okay, Reina," especially as an entrepreneur. So that's super, super, like, it was super big to me. And another thing that was, like, kinda pointed out was if I were to move out, was the fear of living alone. So, some people, I mean, I had never ever lived all alone, but I did have a little fear, or I guess I was like, "Well, I don't really know how it is to live alone." So, I had to just see how that was gonna be, right? But honestly, so far I've loved it. And I'm just somebody that I'm somebody, like, if there's I'm not I don't I l- actually like being alone and having my time. I'm pretty, like, introverted in a way and extroverted. And and if I want to hang out with friends or family, like, I'll simply call them or hang out with them. Like, I'm not afraid to do that. Like, I'm very self-aware with how I feel. And if I get to that point of, like, hey, I feel a little lonely, I want to talk to somebody, like, I have no problem going, like, picking up the phone and talking to them or going and visiting them. And that fear or that mindset of leaving, all of this, it had to do with just a lot of other um an experience I had like 3 years ago. And I don't really want to talk about it, but basically that also affected me, like, leaving and living on my own. And so I wasn't having to seek therapy, and I just wanted to gain more self-confidence that I can do it. And I think a big thing was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna leave my parents. Like, I don't know why just thought I was, like, gonna disappoint them. And just because everybody was like, why like, oh my gosh, your parents are gonna feel so bad if I left. Like, but they're adults and they've lived perfectly fine without me before I was born, right? So I think it was just like it was in my own head, and therapy really helped me, like, leave that pressure, and also leave the pressure of, like, being the last daughter and the youngest daughter and, like, having to take care of my parents. And I can still take care of them. Like, I was like, okay, well, I can take care of them financially. I wanted to be able to grow my business and be able to yeah, gain more wealth and be able to take care of them like that. So that was just therapy. Also, I legit had to go to therapy, and, like, this was a big topic about it. Like, cuz all of those things that I had listed, like my credit, my income, my dog, my mom, the fear, the mindset, like, all of that was instilled in all of this. Um so yeah, and once, like, honestly, like, I had to make the decision. Like, I remember, like, I always kept saying, like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna move out," but I never, like, put a date on it, or I was like, I just wanted it, but I wasn't saving for it, and then finally I was like, "Okay, like, at least start saving." And then I actually wrote down, like, what I wanted and what place I wanted, where I wanted it to be, how far from my parents or close to my parents I wanted it to be. What it like exactly everything, and manifesting this, and I would like do like meditation, but like visualization, where I would write it out and read it out, and then I would like visualize myself in my new place, and just like just doing the work. And I know it may sound like crazy, but I really like that's to me. And on to be honest, I literally like did manifest this place. Like I don't even like it's crazy. Like I would have never thought I would be able to be in a place where I'm at now. Um like 5 months ago. Like I would have, if you would have told me either 6 months ago, like I would have been like, what? Like, how is that gonna happen? And it's just incredible, the power of like you and your mind and deciding you want to do something. And um so yeah, I now I'm like living in the place I want. Like Leo has his space. It's like perfect for me. Like it's not small, but it's also not like huge. It's like perfect. And it's like not too far. It's literally in the city that I wanted to live in. So that's like amazing. And so I'm very grateful for being here. And it's just been such an incredible experience. And I honestly definitely recommend it to all my Latina entrepreneurs out there that I know, it's just I don't want to call it a struggle, but it's just a phase in your life where you're living at home and trying to do all the things, and just a lot of pressure from family, because I know I'm not alone. I know there's a lot of pressure. Like I feel like there's already a lot of pressure, like when you go to college, and then there's like even more pressure when you're actually trying to do something different and not following the status quo. And I just think, um, especially just being in a Latino household where opinions are stated loudly and proudly many times by our parents, right? And I know they just want the best for us, but sometimes it's like, well, like, let me show you, let me prove it to you, but like, give me a chance, and yeah, like sometimes they don't understand that entrepreneurship and building a business, like you're gonna make so many mistakes, and probably like by the 5th year or 10th year, like you'll get it, but you're gonna be like an expert at it, but it just takes time, and I just don't want you to like get influenced by them and give up on your goals and like live in the what if, what if I had gone for it? What if I had really put in the effort and done everything I could? And I don't want you to live in regret. So I want to go into like tips on moving out and everything. So the first things first is like I want to say like making a list of knowing what you want. Um Literally, like I remember making an Excel sheet, and I basically did like my budget and how many rooms I wanted, a bathroom, like okay, like basically all the like things that I wanted. Okay, I want it to have, do you want it to have like the stove and the and the fridge, like a little outside area, dog friendly, non-dog friendly, um like all the parking, no park, laundry, all the things, and basically did my research, and I had to put in my calendar like, okay, Reina, like look it up. It's not gonna just come to you. You have to go find it. And so I would just, like 30 minutes a day, just like look around and see what was up. And also just kind of to give you idea of like the pricing too. And at the same time, saving up money, saving up for the deposit, seeing how much deposits usually were and things like that. And I went um onto Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and I went onto all of the, and also some of the apartment websites as well. And I feel like Craigslist, there was a few good ones, but and Facebook Marketplace, it just depends what's available, right? I ended up finding mine at the one of the apartment websites, and it's actually like a whole apartment complex that I really liked, and I felt like maybe a little bit safer rather than like living in like an individual place. Because there's like more people around and things like that. So I really liked it. And so you can look up in those places. And also, again, like I mentioned, scheduling out time to research and like just to see what's open. And also, there's like on Facebook Marketplace, you can set notification reminders to like specifically what you're looking for. Like if you're looking for a 1 bedroom, a 2 bedroom, you can set those up, and just so you don't have to like always be checking, but they're actually coming to you. So those are really awesome too. And and yeah, like also building your credit, like I mentioned, it's really important. If you have to work with the credit repair company, do it. Um and in the meantime, you're building your credit, and then you can save some money on the side. And that was like honestly the best. I even saved money enough so I can like buy furniture. I mean, in the beginning, it's like you don't need all the furniture, but you'll need a few little things when you're gonna be starting off, right? And things like that. So just at least for sure save for your deposit, obviously the rent and things like that. So it's a good chunk of saving, but just know it's not gonna be like that much every single month. It's just to save your spot. And finally, just start submitting those applications, reaching out to people and things like that. And also kind of just telling your friends about it, like putting it out into the universe. Like I wasn't telling everybody about it, but I was just like, "Hey, if you see anything, let me know. I'm looking in this area, this budget." Like you never know, right? Who has a place. And sometimes that's how you get like really good deals too. Like, "Oh yeah, my cousin has like a back house and they're trying to rent it out." And like, I don't know, you never know. And maybe like they can also kind of help you. If they come across an opportunity, they'll reach out to you as well. But don't like, I just think that's also like another way to just put it out into the universe that you were wanting this, right? Don't like just expect that they're gonna do the work for you. So yeah, and then finally I ended up, I honestly like, it was pretty fast how I ended up moving, because when I applied, they basically were like, okay, I specifically applied for a specific place, like a specific unit in this apartment complex, and it wasn't available at the time, and then all of a sudden it was, and they're like, okay, well, and it gets booked really fast. And it had like almost everything I wanted. Yeah, like literally, like I had my own parking. I had like, it had just so much, and it was perfect. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. And yeah, and then when I submitted all the paperwork and everything, like I had to move in actually within like 5 days. Well, I didn't have to, but it was available. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was like middle of the week, and I had just so much work with clients, and it was pretty overwhelming. But I was like, Reina, like you can do this. Like you prayed for this, and it's happening. This is happening. So, just enjoy the journey and enjoy it. And I was very, very grateful. And obviously telling my parents like in 5 days notice that I was going to leave, like that was intense. And I was a little emotional because I'm just like their last daughter. And like at the end of the day, there's just memories you have with your parents, and things like that. And it's an emotional feeling. And I knew, yeah. And so I told my parents, and they were sad, but they were also really happy for me and proud of me. And I felt like that's what I wanted. Like I just, because I didn't know like how they were gonna react. um and so they were just like, okay, it was gonna happen eventually. And like that's the thing too, like you're gonna move out eventually, well, hopefully. And it's just part of another phase in your life. And I really do believe it's just, you kind of grow up, and it's just different. I don't know, like it's a different experience. And it definitely got me uncomfortable. It definitely, it's pushing me even more because now I'm like on my own, and pushing me even more to, to just be smart with my money. And honestly, y'all, it's been very, very, very helpful to have my own space and my own environment. And to me, like, environment is so important, and everything. And so I hope you learned a few things from this episode and how to get started in your own moving journey. You know, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Instagram at hola_reina, Reyna. And you can just ask me there and tell me what you learned from this episode. Or I don't know, or if you did move out, like, how was your experience? And things like that. This is coming from my own experience. Everyone has, and I definitely want to just like state, like, I am not judging. I would never judge anybody that like lives at home, because you know what? Like, nobody knows. Like, you're probably, hey, I have this plan, like, to save up, and I'm gonna do this and that. Like, everyone has their own journey, and it's never good to like judge somebody on that, because you never know, like, something can happen to you and you have to go back too. So, like, the world is gonna humble your ass. And I just think, wherever you're at, like, in your journey, but I just definitely want to make this episode, because I know there's like girls out there who have thought about this, but there's a lot of pressure, like, from society. And like I mentioned, like, a lot of people, I've said, like, oh yeah, like, I'm moving, like, oh, who are you moving with? By myself, and then they're just like, why? Like, but I'm like, because I'm like in my mid-20s, and like, I just want my own space. Like, it's normal to want that, and to want freedom. It's okay, like, I'm giving you permission to know that it's okay. So whatever, however you feel. I am super excited to be having more episodes. I'm definitely gonna do better and being more consistent. And I actually have a whole like list of what the future episodes are gonna be, based off of what people have, been interested in. But of course, send me a DM if you have more ideas. Also, super important, if you could leave a podcast review on Apple Podcast. Just let me know what you thought of this episode, and I would love to read it. And also connect with me on Instagram at hola_reina. And thank you, everybody. I will talk to you soon.